Hello, welcome to this teacher's briefing around the Save Our Stories campaign, part of the University of Oxford's Their Finest Hour project. My name is Stuart Lee, I'm the principal investigator on the project, and I want to take you through some of the key facts and principles about the Save Our Stories campaign and what you would be asked to do. To begin with, I would like to thank you very much for showing interest in this. I appreciate your time is very scarce at the moment, but anything you can do to help would be greatly appreciated. So the objectives of this short presentation are to take you through a bit of background to what is Their Finest Hour project, and then more specifically, what is the Save Our Stories campaign, and for you as an individual, as a teacher, but also for your pupils, what would you be asked to do? And this breaks down into two stages. One, there's a very simple communications process that you might wish to adopt, but then you may also be willing to consider more in-depth support for pupils. And finally, we will finish with some further information. So Their Finest Hour is a 2-year project led by the Faculty of English at the University of Oxford, funded by the Heritage Lottery Fund. It started in 2022 and concludes in 2024. And the objective of the project is to crowdsource stories and objects from the public that relates to the experiences of people living in Britain or the Commonwealth during the Second World War. So what we mean by crowdsourcing is we get the members of the public to bring or donate or send us material that they have still stored, or a story or a memory or whatever related to the Second World War. So we're looking at stories from everyone. People who were children during the war, women, people who just served on the home front, as well as serving personnel. No story is too ordinary. No story should be forgotten. Now, the way we've been doing this up to now through crowdsourcing is through an online portal. There's a website that's been running since December 2022, but also through a series of collection days run around the country. And these are big events held in libraries, museums, and occasionally schools, where we would set up there with the local volunteers, and people would bring material in, they'd be interviewed, and we would digitize their material there and then. And the objective is that all this material that will be collected will be made available freely online on the 6th of June 2024, the 80th anniversary of D-Day, and also everything that we've been sent and we've captured ourselves will be preserved by Oxford University for decades. So the motto there underneath the Their Finest Hour picture is that we will preserve, we will share, and then we will enable people to reuse the material that we've collected, all for free. Save Our Stories is a specific campaign we're running around the Remembrance Weekend of the 11th and 12th of November this year. So really it is a big push to try and capture and preserve as many stories as we can. And we're encouraging individuals, we're calling those champions, but also schools, i.e. yourselves, to upload as many stories as they can. Now, I should just say that while we're concentrating this big push around the 11th and 12th of November, our project still runs until April 2024 in terms of collecting. So one of the frequently asked questions we have about Save Our Stories is, well, what if I collect material or I don't have time around that weekend? Then can I send it to you a bit later on? And yes, you can. But we're trying to sort of use the national concentration around Remembrance Weekend to really energize people to go out and try and capture at least one story. So the big question is, what would I be expected to do? What would you as a teacher? And at a very simple level, we would just ask you to do one thing. And that is to send a communication out in your school newsletter, your bulletin, or however you circulate to parents and guardians along the lines of what you can see there. So insert school name. Our school is pleased to be supporting the University of Oxford's Save Our Stories campaign to preserve items and memories held by families across the UK and Commonwealth related to the Second World War. Please take some time to work with your child around Remembrance Weekend on finding a story about your family's experiences during the war and send it to the online archive. You can find out more by visiting their finesthour.org and clicking Share Your Story. Now, by sending out that message, all you're doing is asking pupils, parents, guardians, just to go out and see if they can find a story related maybe to their family, but if they haven't got anything like that, it could be to their locality, and using the standard process that we've had there all the time to upload that story from our main website. So at a very simple level, anything along those lines, and you could reword accordingly, just get that out across your school network, and then hopefully people out there will send us some more stories. The wording that we've sent there is, of course, open to you to reword, as I've said, and it is available in the teacher's pack, which you will have been sent, but if not, is available to download from our website, and I'll give you the full URL at the end of this. You'll note in the communication there, the draft communication, we highlighted insert school name in yellow, and throughout the documentation that you might receive, wherever we feel that you may wish to go in and slightly alter the text, we've helpfully highlighted that in yellow. So please feel free to adapt, reword anything that we've sent you. So if you want, this is all you need to do, and that in itself would be fantastic by sending that note out across your school network, pupils, parents, guardians, grandparents, all kinds of people will suddenly hear more about our project. However, it might be that you wish to offer more support to your pupils. You may wish to do this as an extracurricular activity. You may wish to do it as a club society or even a formal part of the curricula. And in this sense, we're going to take you through a few other things which you could do. The mantra that we're adopting here is that you should be aiming to support pupils to find a story, capture the story, and send us the story. So first of all, what do we mean by find a story? Well, as we've said, we're looking to crowdsource material from the public that they've held. It may be they've got some objects, it may be they might have some letters, photographs, or it may be that just a story has been passed down to them. It could be about a family member, or if they don't have any ancestors who are alive or whatever, remember the war, it could be a friend of the family. Or if there's nothing like that, it could just be something that happened locally in your village or town. It could just be, as we've said, a story or a memory that someone has and would be willing to share, but also we're about collecting those items which have sat gathering dust, maybe in drawers, in attics and so on, and preserving them. So it could be a photograph, it could be letters, it could be a piece of kit, an object, all of these and anything else that they can find. The main focus, of course, though, is the project is about the Britain and the Commonwealth during World War II, and that's what we're trying to preserve. But I should just add, we're particularly interested in the experiences of everyday people. Sometimes we get asked, is this just about people who are in the Army or the Navy or the Royal Air Force? And the answer is no, we're interested in people who were on the home front, who may not have had anything to do with any part of the war service, but just experienced it. And also those from underrepresented backgrounds, from people from ethnic minorities whose stories are often forgotten. Now, when we talk about capturing the story, it's important to just get one key thing across, and that is the story consent form. In the teacher's pack, you will find a blank version of this. But I just want to take you through what it is. It can be printed on 2 pages or one page double-sided. On the front page, you would have the story form, which you can see there on the screen, and on the back page, you could have the consent form. The story form is where the pupil or the parent and guardian would write down some information about what they've found. So what is the Second World story you have found? That main box there, and they could write down information. It's about my grandmother, it's about my grandfather, and so on. They served here, they worked here, and so on. The second box, the middle box, just gives us a bit more information, because sometimes it may just be a name of a person, but they may be related. So if the story is about someone, if so, who? My grandmother, my great uncle, and so on. And how are they related to you? And then the third box there is what are they sending us? Now, it could just be that all they do is write down here the story or the memory, but they may also be sending us something. They may take some photographs, and we'll come on to that in a second. So it's useful here if they could write down, I'll be sending you photographs of letters, photo from a diary, and so on. The second side to this is the consent form. And this does look a bit off-putting, but it is really critical. And we've tried to make it as simple and as friendly as possible. The important thing here is this gives consent so that we can then reuse the material in the online archive. So it's absolutely critical that we receive a version of this, and I'll talk about that a bit later. More importantly, that we get the name of the parent or guardian and their signature on this form. They have to be over 18. We can't accept this to be agreed by a minor. In the main body of the form, you'll see a series of checkboxes where they're being asked to agree to our terms and conditions. And mainly these are about sharing the story. Yes, it's fine for you to put this material that we're sending you up online. And more importantly, it's fine for you as Oxford University to preserve this on your servers for future generations. And at the bottom, you can see we're asking them to sign and date it. Now, there is an online version of this, and I'll come on to that a bit later. But there is also, you may be considering sending out a paper version of this when you set the task for pupils. Capturing the story, what this means is recording, digitizing, whatever way you want to view this. And there are various ways you can do this, but first and most simply is just to write it down on the paper form. So that if you take the story and consent form, if you wish to print it out, photocopy it, give it out to the pupils, they could simply write down in those boxes that we've just seen the story that they've managed to find. If that's a bit too laborious and they have a computer to hand, they might just want to type it up into a Word document or something like that, so that they can then paste it into an online form later. But it may not just be a story. It may be that as the person recounts the tale or as the pupil looks around at what's in their house, there may be photographs of people from the war. There may be letters, there may be diaries, there may be bits of kit and so on that are just hanging around. So they could take photographs of these, and as many as possible. We can store it all. So please tell them to sort of, take, if there's an object, take from as many angles as they wish. If there are letters, take all the pages, diaries, again, photograph all the pages. And it may well be that they found someone who wishes to tell the story, so they could audio or even video record that person telling the story. If they do go down that route, though, please note and please inform them that they should not record anyone under 18, because that then means that we would need to seek further consent. So hopefully, please tell them not to be identifiable in the video or on the audio, and try and concentrate just on an adult telling the story. And of course, as we say there, it could be all of the above. We can collect all of this stuff into one bundle, and that would be the overall submission. If they just want to go down the paper form version, you can just write with pen and paper. But everything we've said here, suggested, could be done with a reasonably up-to-date mobile phone with a camera. Now, the next and most important step is to send us the story. And there are a few ways of doing this, and I'm going to take you through 3 of them. The first way is for them to upload everything using our specially dedicated schools web form. And you can see the URL there. It's in your teacher's pack, and there's a QR code as well, which would take them directly to it. By going to that link, they will find a web page with various boxes for them to fill in. Now, this will ask them, have they completed a story consent form that we've just been talking about? If they have, it will suggest they take a photograph of it or scan it, and then go to section B on the form, where they just provide a few more details and upload everything. So they might upload the scan of the story form, they might upload some photographs they've taken, and so on. If they haven't completed a story consent form, not to worry. Section A on that page would allow them to do that. They could fill in the details of the story and they could tick all the consent, or a parent or guardian should. This is also where if they've typed up the story into a Word document, they could just cut and paste it. And then at the end, they hit the submit button and the story has been sent to us. So it may be, as a teacher, you may suggest to the pupils that they do this at home, but obviously some of them may not have access to computers or to a reliable internet connection. So it may be you suggest to them to bring the material into school, and you will help them do that as part of a class or an informal extracurricular activity. The second way to get us the story is just simply to email it to us. And there you can see our email address, sos@it.ox.ac.uk. So we will receive the email and all the attachments that people add to that email. The attachments could be, again, photographs, video, audio, whatever, just put them as an attachment. But most importantly, what we're seeking there is, of course, the scan of the story consent form, which we've talked about at length before. So bundle all those things up, attach them, and send the message to us. Now, when the email comes to us, it will trigger an automatic reply, which the person will receive, which again will remind them that if they haven't done this, please could they go and complete the online version of the story and consent form. And most importantly, the email address they've sent us the story from in the first place. And that allows us to tie up consent forms and anything we've received by email. The automatic reply they receive, and it's there up on the top right of the screen, you will see thanks them very much, but has a direct link which they can follow, and then they just fill in the form, the story consent form. And finally, the third way is just to pop it in the post. Put it all in an envelope. This might be just papers, it might be USB sticks, whatever, and send it to that address there in Oxford. Again, all of this is in the teacher's pack. But again, as you will see, we've highlighted there, what they also need to do is send us a completed story consent form. So it could be a paper-based one, or it could be a scan that they've put on the USB stick, which they pop in the post. If pupils are bringing a lot of material to you as a teacher and you're acting as a coordinator of all this, please make sure that if you put several stories in the same envelope, number them and identify them so that we don't receive an envelope with 20 or 30 stories in there and we have to try and piece everything together with 20 or 30 USB sticks. And finally, we would encourage people not to send us original items or valuable items. We're about trying to preserve digital copies of these items, not the original material. We're not curators of a museum that could look after these. Hopefully that answers many of your questions. And as I've said, the teacher's pack takes you through all of this with instructions. There's also a poster there to advertise the activity, a certificate to just acknowledge our thanks to you and your school for supporting this project. And there are various blank forms and so on that will help you. On our website, and there is the URL there, you will be able to download information sheets for you as a teacher, but also for parents, and there's a short version and a full version. And also there's an opt-out letter, which we know schools may wish to consider so that some families may wish to opt out of this activity. But if you have any questions as a result of this presentation, or what you read in the package that you were sent, then please just drop us an email and we will try and pick that up and answer you as soon as possible. It just remains for me to say thank you very much once again for showing interest in supporting this project. It really is an important time. This is the period when a lot of this material, many of these stories and memories are getting lost or passing away. So this is one of our last opportunities to capture this material for future generations. So thank you very much.